Hey guys, how's it going? Superfly Kev here, and we're gonna do something a little bit different on the channel today. I'm actually going to, you can say this is probably the start of a podcast. Probably we'll call this episode one. This is pretty much in beta, so we're gonna try this out to see if this is something you guys like to watch, and if not, I can bring other YouTubers that I know, and we can start discussing other stuff. So today's podcast is gonna be horror centric, and I'm here with my buddy Carlito, also known as BuggyDClown. It's that he goes by these days.
Yeah,
It's
it's
it's a One Piece reference. In case you guys don't know, it's a very long anime about a boy who wears a straw hat and he wants to become king of the pirates, and it's taking him a long fucking time to do so. But anyway,
five, five more years. 5 more years.
hopefully 5 more years. I mean,
It
I'm not that caught up in the series because it's like 1,200 episodes. No, I'm just kidding. Just like it just went over 1,000, right? Not too long ago.
yeah, not too long ago
Okay,
it went
but
over a
it
thousand.
hasn't reached 1,200 yet. One day it
No,
will.
maybe
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 one.
next year.
Yeah,
Maybe next year.
maybe next year. But anyways, all right. So this podcast is not about One Piece. As much as I would like it to be about One Piece, I don't know that much about One Piece yet. I'm trying to
And
catch
if
up.
you do, we got a channel for you.
Yeah,
We'll link that
I'll
later.
link it in the description, and like that, if you guys are interested in that type of anime talk. I mean, I'm an anime watcher myself. I just don't watch One Piece, but we might talk about anime. We're talking about horror in general. So that's gonna include movies, that's gonna include games, that's gonna include basically anything that scared the living shit out of us, and it was influential to whatever basically we do or we consume nowadays. Alrighty, so first things first. So we're gonna start exactly when we were kids. What are some childhood fears, basically? For example,
Spiders,
spiders.
spiders for me. I and this is the funny part. It's because of a movie,
What movie was it?
Arachnophobia.
Arachnophobia. Damn, I haven't seen that in
Let,
years.
let, let me let me tell you the story. I was a little kid. I don't remember how old I was. Me and my parents were on vacation. I just turned on the TV to put whatever's on right before we leave, and it just so happened to be arachnophobia. And I think it was the scene where the doctor was eating popcorn, and that's when he died. I'm like, oh no, no, spiders is not for me. No. Ever since then, I've been scared of spiders.
I hate bugs in general. One thing I'm glad that we don't have, and
I don't mind them. I don't mind them.
it depends on the bug, but the one thing I'm glad that
Yeah,
we don't have in Colorado, at least I haven't seen them when I since I've been here, is cockroaches.
I hate those
I hate
motherfuckers
cockroaches. Like German
so
cockroaches are
much.
fine. The itty bitty ones that look like beetles or whatever. It's the American ones, the big motherfuckers, and when they start flying, it's like a hell fuck no. You know.
Bro, can I say a story about a cockroach one
Yeah,
time?
sure. Go ahead. I mean,
This is
this
this
is
is a
horror.
horror. This is this
This is horror
yeah.
eccentric, and bugs are a horror
So
category for a lot of people.
I was living in Miami at the time in Eureka. I don't know if people from Miami know where that's at.
I know where that's at.
Um, so I was outside with my mom and one of my friends, and we were smoking, and then I saw a cockroach just crawling on the wall on the outside, and I think I hit him with a broom or something like that, and he fell or whatever. He flew or whatever it was. I'm like, oh no, he doesn't fly on my neck. I'm like, ah,
Ah, damn.
that shit, bro. Never
Yeah,
again, bro.
yeah. Freaking cockroaches. All right. So a childhood fear or a movie that I thought was fucking scary when I was a kid. Damn, I'm trying to think. Um, have you ever seen
Child's
Pete? Have you ever,
child's play for me.
even though this is not a horror movie, but it had a scary scene in it? Have you ever seen Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure?
I, yeah, yeah.
The large march scene. Yeah, the large march scene. If you guys don't know what that is, you guys can pause the video real quick and just look up on YouTube. Pee Wee's Big Adventure, Large Marge, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But
You know
yeah,
what's funny? It really didn't bother me as much when I was little.
it's just that one scene because the rest of the movie is just like it's a comedy. It's like a stupid, goofy kids
Yeah.
movie, and in that one scene, it gets really fucking scary all of a sudden because of the face she makes.
So some of my early introductions to horror movie, besides arachnophobia and that one little scene, some of the old school stuff, Friday the 13th, Child's
Yeah.
Play, Halloween. Is there one more? Am I missing
Nightmare on
another
Elm
one?
Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, you forgot about
See,
old Freddy Krueger.
I find that one more terrifying than the other ones because it's somebody that could be in your dreams and kill you.
Yeah, and it's like, no one can help you because you're just sleeping, and it's like you die in your dream, and it's like, you obviously you die in real life, and then they just come into your body like, hey, wake up, and it's like you've probably been dead for fucking hours since the last time they checked up on you.
And then you have to eventually figure out, oh, you just got to bring them into your world when you wake up. I'm like, yeah, that's so
Yeah,
simple, right?
yeah, it is. I mean, I wouldn't even. I don't know, man. I probably will be like Johnny Depp, like how he was in the first movie, where he's just like chilling, listening to some music on his
Great
freaking.
scene, great scene.
Yeah, and he gets dragged into bed, and the blood just basically like showers all over the ceiling. Yeah, that was a really good scene.
Great, that was a great
Yeah,
scene.
it is.
Oh, you know what's another good one? The Thing.
John Carpenter's The Thing is one of my favorite movies. I actually
Great prosthetics
shameless,
to this day. They still hold up.
yeah, shameless plug over here. I actually did play the Thing video game on my
Nice.
channel not too long ago, and the thing about the video game is that it's actually a sequel to the movie. It actually explains what happens to like what do you call this thing to in case you're wondering what the fuck I'm doing, I'm writing something down. And my keyboard's in the way. That's why I look like I'm just like ready to fucking take off. Um but yeah, I did play through the thing. It was a PS2 game, and it's actually a sequel to the movie because it explains what happens to Kurt Russell's character and stuff at the very end. I'm not gonna.
How long after the game does I mean after the movie does it take place?
I think maybe like a couple weeks, maybe.
Oh, okay. That's not too far.
Yeah, it's not too far. Like it literally like happens like right after. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I think it happens actually like a several hours after. Like because you start basically in the beginning where do you call this thing where him and Kurt Russell and I forgot what the actor's name is or what his name was in the movie. The black dude that he was with at the
Yeah,
very end before the movie ends, you
yeah.
go to that site, and of course, well, I don't want to spoil it because I want people to watch the playthrough, of course, and then see the little references that if you're familiar with the movie, if you never played a game. But this was a game that came out, I think, in 2002, 2003. It was a game that I remember playing as a kid, and it was pretty scary. I started a lot of horror games as kids, but I never finished them because, they were obviously scary. I didn't start basically like enjoying horror games until I was like maybe in my teens. A couple early horror games that come into mind that basically like I got introduced to that scared me as a kid. One of the very early ones, of course, we're gonna bring up Resident Evil and Silent Hill and stuff, in a little bit. But have you ever played Friday the 13th on the NES?
No, I never played that.
All right, yeah, it sounds funny because like, oh, a game that old can scare you. Okay, so how that game operated was that you have six characters you can play as, and you can switch between the characters whenever you want by just pressing the start menu, and they'll be anywhere around the map. So pretty much you're trying to save kids, and you're trying to figure out a way to kill Jason. And the thing is that Jason basically is like he pops out of nowhere, you know, and and every time he does, like the game makes a really fucking loud screen that jump scares you because you're just like walking along, and the thing goes and all of a sudden like the character just pops up. I'm pretty sure you probably ever seen like the sprite that Jason is purple because for some reason in that
Yeah,
game they made his
I
jumpsuit.
don't. I
Yeah,
have seen that.
yeah,
Yeah.
they even added it in the Friday the 13th game that came out. The most
Oh,
recent one.
really?
Yeah,
Did they?
yeah, they did. I mean,
I
that game is not
PS
played.
Plus gave it to us for free. I think
Yeah,
I should have it in my library.
the sad thing about that franchise and that game also is that the developers, they had all this planned content for the game and they couldn't release it. Why? Because there's a legal dispute between two guys, and pretty much the legal dispute is one of the guys is the guy, I think he's the guy who's the current rights holder versus the guy who originally, like made the first movie. And they're
Yeah.
pretty much just going back and forth, and this legal battle has been going on like for years. um and pretty much the whole thing is that they're trying to discuss in court or debate in court or argue in court, whatever you want to call it, about who owns the rights. And so Right now, the rights to the Friday the 13th franchise is in limbo. So the development, all the development in that game had to stop. So they were planning different Jasons. They were actually planning to put Jason X into the game and have a level that's based on space. They were planning all that shit, and I was like, damn, man, why couldn't the legal shit happen after we got the Jason X stuff? But whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time you bring up Jason X, I just
I mean, it's a stupid fucking movie, but it would have been awesome just having a Jason X themed, level and a Jason, and you can play as
God.
Jason X as a skin, because you could do all the fucking like kills with like the nitro kill and the fucking body bag
Yeah,
kill and shit like that. Yeah,
yeah. Hey, it's funny because I saw that scene recently of him smashing those two girls in the sleeping bag.
dude, I haven't seen that movie in fucking years, man. But
I haven't seen it since I saw it when I was young. That's the last time I saw
yeah, I
it.
haven't seen that movie in fucking years. But anyways, but yeah, so moving away, what was your first horror game experience? Because that was my first horror game experience, and after that then I got into Resident Evil and Alone in the Dark, and we'll get to those in a second, but I want to hear
See,
your thoughts.
just like you, Resident Evil, I started with that, but I was just too scared to play.
The first one,
I
or
was,
the which one did you start with? The first one or the second one or the third one on the PS1?
it was two.
It was two. The first one,
I,
yeah.
I,
The first one.
I was a little bitch. I couldn't play
Oh,
that
me
shit back
too.
then,
The
bro.
first one played was the original, the one that came out in 1996. I recently played it in my
Yeah.
channel. Again, a shameless plug. You know, I have a live stream, so you guys can check that out. I'm doing Resident Evil 0, and I recently did the remake. But anyways, but that first game, the one about that takes place in the Spencer Mansion,
And I mentioned, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so I remember starting the game. This was a game that I was not allowed to play. I remember that not only because it was violent, it's because
I'm glad you brought up the mansion because I have a story about that as well.
gotcha. But this was a game that I was not allowed to play. This game basically it was a game that, not because they hid it from me, because it was really violent and scary and stuff for the time, because right now it's just laughable. I played it and it's like the only time I ever got like scared is because I was panicking, because that game has a ludicrous save system that if you die, and you go back to it takes you back to the menu and you got to load your game. So if you haven't saved in 30 minutes and you die, then it's like, fuck, I got to replay those 30 minutes again. you know
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's why it's one of those games that it scared you, because mostly not because of what was happening, it's because I'm gonna lose all my progress. And I don't, and time is very precious when you're an adult. When you're a kid, you know, you have all the time in the world. But when you're an adult, you get home from work and it's like, I only got 4 hours of leisure time. Then I gotta go to fucking sleep. Yep.
Was it the mansion where the dogs were at, right?
Yeah, when they break to the window. But
Bruh,
the part that always
bruh.
got me, it was the very beginning of the game. Like, you enter the mansion, and whether you're Chris or Jill, you go to the dining room, and then you go to the hallway where Kenneth is getting eaten, which is a
Mm-hmm.
member of Bravo team. And it's funny because I made this joke in the I made this joke in my live stream. So Kenneth, okay, he's not the first one to die in the events of the timeline. But Kenneth is a black dude, and he's the first person to die in the game. The minute the game starts, they kill the black guy off immediately. They kill him off screen, obviously, but he's completely dead immediately. And of course, the reason why I bring that up is because that's always been like sort of a meme, back when I was a kid, where it's like, if it's a horror movie and if you're the black dude, you're gonna be the first one to get killed. I remember it wasn't until what was it? Did you remember the movie Deep Blue Sea? Because that movie scared me as a
Oh
kid
yeah.
with the
Oh
sharks.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the infamous scene where basically, where Samuel Jackson dies in the most fucking epic way.
I did not expect that to
Oh,
happen
nobody
when that
did.
happened. I was
I
like,
remember
bro.
as a kid seeing that in the movie theaters. I remember seeing that as a kid in the movie theaters, and I remember, he's giving a speech, and whenever the shark jumps out in the water and just fucking like just wrecks him, I remember everybody in the theater just going like, "Oh shit!" because
Yep.
because
Yep.
nobody expected that. I just it just
My jaw dropped when that
But
happened.
the reason why I brought that up is because the entire movie. So they kill Samuel L. Jackson. Of course, he's a black guy in real life, and of course, he plays a black guy in movies. So so LL Cool J was also in that movie, and the whole
Oh
time, Yeah, you completely forgot that he was in that movie, right?
I remember he's in there, but the fact that
No, what the whole time is that the whole time he has
it's
a
funny they made it seem like he was gonna die and then he didn't.
yeah, spoilers shit, but it's a fucking movie
I
from
mean,
like
that movie's old as shit. It
yeah,
doesn't even matter at this point.
yeah, it's a movie from like the late '90s. But anyways, yeah, the whole movie they had it look like he had a little pet bird, and I remember there was a part where the shark eats his pet
Yeah,
bird and he gets really fucking pissed. And then all of a sudden, for a good part of the movie, instead of him running from the shark, he's
he
running,
kills these
he's,
sharks.
he's running towards the sharks because he wants to kill them. Yeah. So,
I love that turnaround in the whole movie.
yeah, he's like, you
You
killed my bird. And he
killed
like,
my bird,
he,
I'm gonna kill you.
but that's actually a line in the movie. He's like, you killed my bird. And like, he blows up
Yeah,
like half the fucking facility.
he was literally fighting with the shark in the kitchen. He goes in the oven and somehow the shark turns on the freaking stove when he was trying to break in. And then he acts his way out, and that's when he did that
Yeah,
line.
and then he blows up the fucking like the whole kitchen and shit, and like the whole freaking facility blows up because, I mean, I imagine in a kitchen with like fuel, gas, and stuff like that, and all of a sudden like you just spark up a fire. I'm pretty sure that's probably gonna take a huge chunk of the building out.
Yeah,
But anyways, but yeah, and then and then he disappears for like the rest of the movie. You think he dies in the explosion or something, and then at the very end, like he just shows up and he's like, "Yeah, I lived," and it's like, "Damn, dude." I think, and I remember there's been memes that it's like he's the first black guy to actually like survive. It's
yeah,
probably not true.
yeah, yeah.
It's probably
There's
not true. I'm pretty sure there's black
somebody
characters
made that
that,
meme.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm pretty sure there's other black characters that have survived, horror movies. But apparently he was the first one. But yeah,
So
congratulations,
going back,
Kuje.
yeah. So going back to my first video game besides Resident Evil, like that I actually played through, I'd say Devil May Cry would be one, right?
Devil May Cry didn't scare me. It just
No, it didn't scare me, but it just had those horror elements to it, you know?
the reason why Devil May Cry didn't scare me that much is because I think I played through Onimusha first, and Onimusha was a
Mm,
little bit more. You played through Onimusha, right?
I played a little bit of
All
it.
right, the remaster is out. It's been out for a long time. The only thing that I don't like about the remaster is that they changed the music from the
Oh,
original
really?
PS2. Yeah, they changed the music due to the fact that I think there was disputes with the person who wrote the music, so they had to basically. I mean, the new music is not bad. It's just that since I played it back on the PS2, I'm nostalgic for the soundtrack. So when I played the
Yeah,
remaster and the music was different, I was kind of a little bit bummed out. It's still a good experience. It plays like Resident Evil, like with the fixed camera angles. It just it just has to deal with like swords and magic and bows instead of guns, grenades, and flamethrowers and shit. Um,
yeah,
but just an interesting tidbit. I don't know if you knew this, but both Devil May Cry and Onimusha, they were supposed to be Resident Evil spin-offs because
really.
yeah, when Resident Evil, okay, so Code Veronica was supposed to be Resident Evil 3, but Capcom has signed a contract with Sony when Resident Evil 1 came out, and basically it was that, the first three like entries of Resident Evil had to be PlayStation exclusives,
Yeah,
which it's kind of a little gray era, or at least they had to be released in PlayStation first. Well, the reason why I say that's a weird deal because I don't know that I might be completely wrong on this, but the thing is that because Resident Evil 1 was ported over to the Saturn as well as that it was ported over to PCs. And then Resident Evil 2 came out for the N64. When it came out on PlayStation first and then it came out for the N64 later, which is that port is a freaking miracle of how they were able to compress that into a single cartridge. When it came on two discs, you had the Leon disc and you had the Claire disc.
yeah.
What else did they have? And then Resident Evil 3, I know when it first came out, I don't think it got ported to anything else. And I'm playing through Resident Evil 0, and that was supposed to be an N64 game, but then the GameCube, was coming
Yeah,
out,
yeah, I remember the
and
GameCube.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then they transferred over the development for the GameCube, and it probably became a better game, for better or worse. It's an alright Resident Evil game, but to go back to Resident Evil 4, so after Code Veronica, after Resident Evil 3, they had Code Veronica, still coming out. It came out actually, I think, like a few months after Resident Evil 3. But Code Veronica was supposed to be Resident Evil 3 Code Veronica, but because of the Sony deal, they made Resident Evil 3 Nemesis instead. I mean, that game was going to come out regardless, but, they put the number 3 on that title instead of Code Veronica. But with Resident Evil 4, so when Code Veronica came out, you know, it came out in 1999. So the sales for it were pretty much like really low compared to the other ones. So Capcom was already seeing the writing on the wall, which was that what do you call this thing? The formula was getting a little bit stale, right? Because there was a lot of other
Yeah.
companies that were doing Resident Evil clones. Besides Silent Hill, I mean, Silent Hill did its own thing. I mean, it did the camera angle things, but it did it in a completely different way. But there were a lot of other companies that saw those, it happens all the time. I mean, remember in the 360 era, how many fucking games try to beat either Gears of War or Call of Duty?
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up because I made that same comparison to the Arkham games combat style.
Yeah. I'll ask you about Gotham Knights in a little bit. I know that's unrelated, but I'll probably ask you about after the show about it. But anyways, but yeah, it's all about horror. So just to wrap this segment up, and then we can basically move on maybe to Silent Hill or something else. But just to go back to that, so pretty much they were brainstorming ideas. So Onimusha was supposed to be a Resident Evil games, basically in samurai time in the Edo period, and then instead it became its own. It ended up becoming its own franchise, a franchise that Capcom needs to come back and bring it back. But the funny thing is that it was supposed to be a PS1 game. So if you search on YouTube, you can find beta builds of when it was a PS1 game, and I mean it's like I think the beginning areas of the game it looks exactly the same except that it looks better as a PS2 game than it does as a PS1 game, obviously. And then Devil May Cry was supposed to be Resident Evil 4, and it was supposed to be I think Leon or something doing all these fucking moves and shit. But then like the guy who Shinji Mikami, who basically he only made the first Resident Evil and remake. I think the other ones.
Now that you bring that up, Dante kind of does look like Leon.
So pretty much, yeah. So it was supposed to be Leon, basically doing all that crazy shit. But Shinji Mikami, which is the guy who he directed the first game and he produced all the other games, and then he came back and he directed the remake of the first game. And after that, he didn't work on Resident Evil anymore. Oh, actually, no, he worked on Resident Evil 4. My bad. Resident Evil 4 was the last Resident Evil game he worked on. He worked on The Evil Within, which is also what I'm playing on my channel. So yeah, you guys should watch that too if you guys are tuning in. That's a good freaking game. I'm loving it. But anyways, but just to wrap it up, so yeah, so they make this they're developing the first Devil May Cry, and then all of a sudden Shinji Mikami looks at this and he's like, "The fuck is this, man? This is not Resident Evil at all." Like, you have Leon like with a sword and he's like juggling fucking enemies with guns. It's like, what the fuck is this? But then all of a sudden, but Shinji Mikami was like, you know what? This is a very shit Resident Evil game, but I like what you guys have, so you guys can probably make your own game. And then he helped the I forgot who directed the first Devil May Cry, but he helped convince like Capcom, basically be like, yo man, like this is like we have to make a better, this is not Resident Evil, so. And they were like, oh, I guess we got to throw this in the garbage. And he's like, well, instead of throwing it in the garbage, why don't you make a new IP? And then Devil May Cry, it was born.
It's crazy.
But yeah, another game besides Resident Evil, real quick. You ever played Alone in the Dark? Because that's also getting a remake.
Which one's Alone in the Dark?
Alone in the Dark. Okay, Alone in the Dark. The first one came out in 1992. It came out before Resident Evil 1. It actually inspired Resident Evil 1 to basically have the fixed camera angles, due to the fact that Resident Evil 1 was supposed to be a first-person shooter. Of course, Resident Evil 1 didn't become a first-person shoot. I mean, Resident Evil didn't become a first-person shooter until 7. Yeah. Well, I mean, there was Resident Evil Survivor on the PS1, but that's a conversation for another day. I'm gonna live stream that eventually because that game is like an hour long, so it will be an excuse just to go live and talk to my audience. Yeah, but yeah, that game is let's just say it's not compared to the quality of the others. Let's just say that's all I'm gonna put it, because I don't hate the game. It's just that I don't like it very much either. But yeah, then
So no, go ahead, go ahead. My
yeah,
bad.
but yeah, then you got Silent Hill. I mean, we can go talk.
You know what's funny? Silent Hill was never my thing.
So okay, so here's the thing with Silent Hill with me. So Silent Hill, I played the first one back on the PS1. I never beat it. Never beat it.
Mm.
I think I got all the way up to the school, and this is a game that I, of course, the last time I played it was probably like in the early 2000s. And Silent Hill 2 came out. I got to like I think like almost towards the end of the game, and then my save file got corrupted, and then I was like, "Fuck, man!" And then
Oh, that's the
I never
worst.
beat the game either. Then Silent Hill 3 came out. Silent Hill 3, I played a little bit of it, so I didn't really like get to finish it that much. And then Silent Hill 4 came out. Now Silent Hill 4 was the one that I went balls deep in. I never, you know what, now that I think about it, I never beat a Silent Hill game because I either, something either came up or something stupid happened, like, my save file getting corrupted. But
That's always the worst to get your save file corrupted.
yeah, but, and it was back in the day with PS2, so there was like no way that
Yeah, no way of doing.
there was
Yeah,
no way like you can back up saves or anything like that. I mean, you would just have to have like multiple. I mean, of course, I was a kid, so it's I think I had like two memory cards, but I wasn't smart enough to like copy my save files from one memory card to the other because I was a dumb fucking kid. But
yeah. You wouldn't think of that like, oh,
I mean, yeah, I mean, I remember doing. I was really young. I remember like I think being like 9 or 10, and I think like
mm.
I remember thinking when I was a kid that if I just copy the exe file of a video game and I take it home to my PC, that that I can just put the I can put the exe file on the desktop and then click and the game will start. Of course, I did it once, and of course, it told me, I put the exe, I drag dropped it from a fucking flash drive, and I put it on the desktop, and then I started clicking on it, and then it would tell me that that Windows was like it was like that John Travolta meme, from Pulp Fiction when he's like,
That's my favorite
yeah,
one.
because it's like, where's the fucking game? It's like all you have is an executable, but no fucking files to back up the executable. So I learned real quick that computer games take a lot more files than just an exe file. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, because I mean we were talking about games like the original Sim, Roller Coaster Tycoon, the classic PC games that you played as a kid. I know they're not horror centric, but I mean you can do a lot of scary things in those games, like you can kill your Sims, you can light them on fire, you can one thing I used to like doing in Roller Coaster Tycoon, I know this is off topic, but one thing I like to do in Roller Coaster Tycoon, when you build a roller coaster and you erase the tracks, and then you
Yeah.
see the roller coaster like fall off the rails and like it explodes and it kills everybody. Or you used to be able to grab your like your guests in the very old ones. You used to be able to grab the guests and throw them in the water, and they'll be doing an animation like they can't swim, and it will tell you in the bottom that guest like 1,000 blah 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 has drowned, and it's like, god damn, man.
That
And
game is dark.
we used to do that as kids all the time, and we used to think it was fucking funny, killing our Sims, and you can tell that humans are it's like people basically say that video games are make people violent, but if you think about it, I mean,
Yeah.
besides all the fucking killing that ever happened in human history, but if you think about it, like if you ever look, what's the most classic image of like a kid back in the 1950s? One of the most classic images is basically like them with a magnifying glass, like burning ants. It goes to tell you that even back in the day, kids were fucking sadistic. Yeah, sure, they were killing
Oh yeah.
ants, but it's like they're still killing things. So it's like they have that God complex because like I'm way bigger than the ants, so like I'm practically God. I mean, but yeah,
Going back to some other horror games that I played, definitely the Dead Space series.
it's another
Th-
series I
Those
played on my channel.
those are some of my favorites, and those scared the shit out of me. At least the first one,
Yeah, I'm
with
currently
because
going.
you weren't expecting slicers to pop out and freaking
I need to do Fear. I need
crevices and stuff.
Yeah, I eventually need to do Fear. You ever played Fear?
One of my friends let me borrow it for a little bit. I played it and I had to return it to them like the next day.
I
So
only
I
put
only got to play a little
Yeah,
bit.
I only played the first Fear, but the first time I played the first Fear was on the 360. I only played the 360 port. I never touched the PC port. And of course the PC port probably plays and runs better because the 360 port probably I remember it targeting 300 sorry, not 300 frames per second. I wish it was targeting 30 frames per second, and I remember there was frame drops and it wouldn't make it there all the way. because that was console gaming back in the day. It was 30 frames or nothing. I think only fighting games and racing games had the 60 frames per second treatment. But other than that, like if you're playing a first person shooter back on console, and it's still kind of true nowadays. There's
Mm,
I think there's some console shooters that are still 30 frames. I mean, I've been a PC gamer since April of this year. You know, I just started, and I mean, I like playing everything on my PC. I mean, it's I have a Series X and I have a Series S. I have a Switch. Of course, the Switch it doesn't even compare, but I don't have a PS5 yet. I don't know if I want one because Sony is just the games that I want. Sony is they're just porting them over to PC anyway, so I don't know if I want a
yeah,
PS5. You know, and
I get
I'll
you.
just buy them on Steam. But that being said, but yeah, going back to Dead Space, I'm really looking forward to the remake, and I'm also looking forward to what is it, the Callisto Protocol, which is the one that's made by the
Oh
guys
yeah,
who made Dead
yeah, yeah,
Space One. Yeah,
yeah.
those
I saw images of that.
yeah, those will be day one. Though both of those games will be day one on the channel. Did you see how much they're adding to Dead Space One?
No, I'm trying to not to see anything. I'm trying to go in there blind.
Oh god, well, all I'm gonna let you know is that they redesigned the Ishimura. So it's a
Oh
lot bigger
really?
now. There's no loading screens. So it's not gonna do that bullshit that
Ooh.
the original game did that you get in the tram to change the chapters. So pretty
Yeah,
much
yeah, yeah.
they're making the ship basically huge where yeah, because they redesigned the ship because now you're gonna be able to walk around the entire ship without a loading screen, except if you die, of course, or if you reload the game. But yeah.
You know what? Maybe I should continue my game on Dead Space because I booted up my Xbox for the first time in like forever because I have Xbox Game Pass and I usually
Yeah, with EA Play.
yeah, I go on there every once in a while and I'm like, oh shit, I have all the Dead Spaces. I'm like, let me play them.
You gotta download Chivalry. We gotta play Chivalry, but yeah, if they just added on Game Pass. It's pretty much like Call of Duty, but if Call of Duty existed in Skyrim and everybody, there's no magic, but
Ooh.
everybody's running around stabbing each other with swords, and yeah, it's really fucking fun. It's been my latest obsession lately. I'm actually gonna play some with a friend after this podcast ends. But
Um,
go ahead.
can we go back to Resident Evil real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, what's up with Resi?
So so Resident Evil 4 was one my first playthrough through a Resident Evil game.
I see.
And the dude the only thing that really scared me in the whole game honestly was the dude with the chainsaw, like I told you this before. That's the only thing that terrified me in the whole game. But then later on when you get to like the head poppers or whatever you want to call them
Yeah.
towards the end, that I was like, what the
I
fuck.
think the parts that besides the chainsaw guys weren't like. I mean, it's just a dude with a chainsaw. It didn't.
Yeah,
It wasn't like scary because like oh shit it's a dude with a chainsaw. It was scary because it's like if he touch
he could one hit
he
kill
can
you.
one hit kill you. Which I don't know if you've seen the remake also looks pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, I have.
yeah, have you seen the actual videos of the remake?
Yeah, I've seen some of that.
Okay, yeah, because you can now parry with the knife. You can block and parry with the knife now. There's a lot of shit there's a lot of shit you can do now in the remake, which I'm looking forward to see. But the
So I
regenerators, of course.
generators.
What else? There was this one part in the castle that remember the invisible bugs? That was pretty fucking
Mm-hmm.
spooky.
Yeah,
And what was there was this one boss. I forgot the name of the boss, but it's the one boss where you're inside that thing that's like hanging on top, and you had to basically in order to kill him, you had to hit the levers and make the platforms fall down.
I it, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's towards the end of the game. I think it's like chapter 4 when the game has like 5 chapters or some shit like that. I don't remember. I'm gonna play that soon on the channel. I'm revisiting all the Resident Evil games because I haven't. I realize I love these games, but I haven't played them in such a long time. So you know, even when I played Remake and Zero, you know, I run around and I'm like scratching my head because I forget where the items are at and I forget what the puzzles are because it's like I haven't like I remember the story, but it's like when it comes to actually playing the game, I'm like what the fuck do I do again? You know, it's one of those moments, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
I also played 5. I like the fact that 5 was co-op, but I hated playing with the AI sometimes. It was just terrible.
The way you get past the AI is always have the AI next to you. Just tell the AI to follow
Yeah.
you. If you tell the AI to
Okay.
do its own thing, then the AI is going to get killed. So yeah,
That's
always tell the AI. I realize I played that game so many times that I realized after a while, it's like just tell Sheva, or if you're playing a Sheva, tell Chris, to just basically stay next to you all the time. Don't
did you did you play Resident Evil 6? Because I didn't play Resident Evil
I
6.
love Resident Evil 6. Okay, I know Resident Evil 6 is a game that everybody fucking shits
Everybody
on.
hates.
Everybody
Yeah.
fucking shits on this game. Here's the thing about Resident Evil 6 that I hate about this, and I've always had this rant because I had the same rant about Dead Space, and this is my fucking rant about it. If you like Resident Evil 4, I I don't know why you hate Resident Evil 5 and 6. Why? Yeah, sure, okay, yeah. Oh, the AI partner, blah blah blah. And Resident Evil 6, your AI partner doesn't die. They can run into danger. They can be basically being owned by the zombies, but they don't die. They fixed that issue that, with Resident Evil 6, where Sheva will basically go get herself, and she gets herself killed, and you have to go back to the last checkpoint and play the whole combat scenario all over again. What else did they change? So there's no more, in Resident Evil 5, you had to, it's the same thing in Resident Evil 0, where Sheva has her own inventory. It
Yeah.
makes sense when you're playing with two players, but when you're playing with one player, it's kind of a pain in the ass because the AI will just grab everything in existence and put it in her pocket, and then you have to go to the menu and ask her, "Can I please have the handgun ammo you just took away from me?" Yeah, but in
Can I also state to the fact that fucking Chris Redfield punched a goddamn boulder?
yeah, oh man, I didn't. Okay,
Whoa.
yeah, that.
What?
But anyways, but yeah, because I made that joke in the remake that in Resident Evil 1 he runs away from boulders because there's a part where you gotta run away from two boulders in
Yeah,
Resident Evil 1.
yeah. I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to run away. But
Um.
In Resident Evil 5, he finally basically stopped running and he stood his ground.
I love Biohazard. That's like
Oh, Resident Evil
when they
7?
went. Yeah.
Well,
I
Biohazard is what it's called in Japan. For some reason,
yeah.
yeah, because and right here in the United States, it's Resident Evil 0. I mean, it's Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. And then the
Yeah.
Japanese title is Biohazard 7 Resident Evil. I don't know why they did
Yeah.
that, but yeah. I don't know why they did that, but they did that.
I Village to me was all right. It was okay.
Yeah.
I
I,
don't know how you feel about
I
Village.
didn't really finish okay, so here's a disclaimer I always tell everybody in my channel. So in 2016, I stopped gaming from 2016 all the way to like halfway through 2021. So I recently got back to gaming. So when Resident Evil 7 came out, I think I only played maybe like the first maybe hour or two when I was running around the fucking Baker estate. So I never beat that
Yeah.
game. Um
Oh wow.
yeah, I never beat Resident Evil 2 remake. I never beat Resident Evil 3 remake. Why? Because I wasn't gaming at those. And and Resident Evil 7 came out. I also didn't beat Resident Evil Village. I just basically played the demo of it. So, of course I know about Lady Dimitrescu and some of the things in it, but when I get to those games, they're gonna be blind because I never played them before. Well, they'll be blind-ish because I do sometimes put on my titles if I play the game from like way back when and I play like maybe halfway through the game or a few hours of it, I do put blind-ish, letting people know that I do know some things, but it's gonna be a lot of things where it's gonna be like, oh shit, I don't know this shit. But anyway, so Resident Evil 6, yeah, so if you like Resident Evil 4 and you hate 5 and 6, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with you because the gameplay just got better. With Resident Evil 6 in my opinion has one of the best third person shooter controls. It's very fluid, your character has a lot of movement. To tell you the truth, when The Last of Us came out, I think a year later from Resident Evil 6, and The Last of Us feels like the original game. The Last of Us feels super fucking stiff compared to Resident Evil 6. Because in Resident Evil 6, man, you can throw yourself on the floor and you can
Yeah.
basically be crawling while you're on the floor like this. So like that, if a zombie's about to grab you, you can just throw yourself on the floor, be like this on the floor, crawling away, shooting, and then you can roll back and forth. Instead you
That's
yeah, and
that's
then
interesting.
the melee, you can basically equip a knife, and
That's
then
almost like more realism too.
and you can equip a knife in the Resident Evil 6, and basically like it works completely different to how it worked in 4 and 5 because in Resident Evil 6 you can actually move while you're shooting and while you have the knife. So you can go around a zombie and when you get the knife it goes into like a combat stance and you can actually dodge and shit, and basically like get really quick stabs and then combo zombies. You can actually walk up to zombies and just punch them in the face in Resident Evil 6. Yeah. Yeah, like I say, Resident Evil 6 is fucking awesome. I mean, of course, it's not a scary game, but
Yeah.
here's the thing: when
It's
Resident
it's it's and it's like a over the
it's an
top
over the top
action.
action game, but the thing is that
Yeah.
when Resident Evil 4 came out, it turned into an over an action game already. I mean, you had Leon basically suplexing people.
Kicking people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then and then you play Resident Evil 5 and then you have Chris Redfield. I remember Chris Redfield, one of my favorite things to do was when you stun enemies, and if this option came out, it was always my favorite option. What was it? It's like he can actually pick up guys over his head, and then you can toss them at other guys, and you can knock everybody fucking down when you toss people. You can only do that as
Yo,
Chris, because Chevo doesn't do
Chris
that.
Redfield was buff as fucking five.
Oh
That's
yeah,
ridiculous.
I mean the reason why he,
Maybe that's why he was able to punch the boulder.
yeah, of course, because Leon, there was no way. I mean, Leon ran away from boulders in Resident Evil 4. Remember? They threw like three
Yeah.
boulders at him, and you had to tap the A button to fucking run away. He's like this. Yeah.
You got any other horror movies you've seen recently?
Horror movies, not really. I think the last horror film I saw was recently, because to me the thing about horror movies is that I've seen so many of them. Horror movies,
Cliches.
they really don't scare me anymore because I can see the tropes
Yeah.
happening. Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
horror films have been done. Like, I think the last one I saw was maybe either A Quiet Place or what's the one that was on fucking
Hereditary.
yeah. And I remember everybody was like, "Oh my god, like Hereditary is fucking scary," and I'm thinking to myself
It's not scary.
like it's creepy,
It's a suspense
it's
thriller.
unsettling.
It
Like just
is,
thinking about it,
bro.
it's unsettling.
Oh,
But the movie itself is not
I know
scary.
exactly what you were gonna talk about. I know exactly what you were just about to say. I don't
Yeah.
know if we want to spoil that or
No, I
not,
don't.
but
I
yeah.
don't. But I'm not gonna spoil it
Okay.
because I mean it's an all right. It's not a bad movie. It's just that
It's not.
everybody was like, "Yo, this movie's like I'm gonna do poo poo in my pants if I watch this shit," and it's like,
See, that's why I try not to listen to people and like I say, make my own judgments
but
of
yeah, dude,
listening to
I don't
people.
watch like I think Annabelle was another one I watched, and it's like I remember watching Annabelle, and I didn't watch it in theaters. I think I watched it like maybe
It
on Netflix, and I remember
it's
watched
funny how from Child's Play, I was scared of fucking Child's
Chucky.
Play, and then to now Annabelle, I'm like, oh, it doesn't really pop
But
me
here's the thing:
now.
I never found okay. I find dolls creepy. Like, don't get me wrong. If I had a doll in my
Oh yeah,
house,
there are some dolls that are
don't
definitely
get me,
pretty
don't get.
creepy.
I mean, don't. Okay, I have this teddy bear, right? I won it at a. I don't remember how I got this teddy bear, but this teddy bear has been with me for like 3-4 years, right? And he just chills on my desk. I think I won him off a claw machine, but this is my favorite one, the Bullet Bill. I won this also in a claw machine. So if I was sleeping and I see these guys just walking around my room, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna be fucking I'm gonna be shitting my pants. But at the end of the day, it's a teddy bear. So if it
Yeah.
comes up and it wants to kill me, I can just grab it and just yeet it across the fucking room.
I want to eat your soul.
But yeah, but the same thing, like that's the one thing I never understood about Chucky. Like, don't get me wrong, like having a possessed doll is scary, but you also got to think about that the doll is like probably this tall, right? So just a
Yeah.
one good kick will send it fucking flying across the room. All you need is just one good kick, and of course, it's gonna fall across. It's gonna be launched across the room. It's probably gonna get up and try again. But by the time it's getting up and trying again, you have the time to go get yourself a weapon. Maybe you can go get yourself, I don't know, a broom,
See,
and then you can go
going
yeet
back.
it across the room like it's a fucking hockey puck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to the other movie, you said A Quiet Place. See, that's one of those where like that's like completely different from like usual horror movies that you've seen
That
and
was
stuff.
actually a good movie. It was very suspenseful. Again, like it was making me tense up. Like,
The whole movie is just quiet, it's silence.
yeah, that was very genius because, like, one thing. Okay, the one thing that always unsettles me when I'm playing horror games is whenever you have like ambience playing in the background. Like, it happens a lot in the
Oh
evil. It
yeah,
happens a lot in the Evil
yeah.
Within where I have ambience in the background, and then all of a sudden I enter a room and it goes dead fucking quiet. The minute it goes dead fucking quiet is when I get fucking scared because I'm like, okay, some shit's about to pop off because the game just like you have like like a song like that in the background, and all of a sudden it just stops, and you're like, uh-oh, you know.
Some shit's about to
Yeah,
happen.
you're like, what's coming? And then sometimes nothing happens. Sometimes you're walking around. That game does horror brilliantly because that game will basically it will just stop everything. Everything will be quiet, and you're just walking around like a fucking like hallway, and you're like, something's gonna happen, and then next thing you know, it's like nothing happens. Like you open the door, and there was no payoff, and I'm like, some people might be like, oh, that's a cop out because it got you ready for a scare without it scaring you. But I'm like, but that's the brilliant thing. You were expecting to
Yeah.
be scared. So and then you open the door, nothing happened, and you're like, oh, okay. And then if they put you in a situation like that, now your confidence goes up because you're like, well, nothing happened the last time it did it. But I'm a smart gamer. If they do that trick again on me, then I'm like, okay, they're gonna do something this time because the last time was a cop out. Now when I open this door, this monster's just gonna grab me and it's just gonna bite my fucking head off, and I'm gonna be like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah, yeah. But yeah, like I said, but I'm too smart of a gamer. If they try to pull the second, what's that old saying? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Oh man. Um, I'm trying to think of a movie that I could bring up that may I don't do you like are you claustrophobic?
Here's a funny thing you brought that up. Okay, so my parents, I had to take a week off of YouTube, like 2 weeks ago because my parents, they came to visit me in Colorado. So my mom is a big nature buff. She wants to do a lot of, she always wants to do a lot of hiking and stuff like that. So one of the things she wanted to do was go visit all like the nature attractions in Colorado. So one of the places we went was a place called Cave of the Winds. So when we went, yeah, it's a place in Colorado. It's in what is it? It's right by what do you call this thing? Colorado Springs, like by Manitou Springs area. But anyways, so when you go into this place, actually there's a video I gotta upload. There was a ride that we were basically on a swing, and my mom actually got the video, from the ride, and it basically what the swing was is that you go on the swing and it drops you, what was it, 150 feet down at 100 miles per hour, and you're basically like swinging over a fucking like canyon. So if the
Jesus
rope were
Christ.
to snap, yeah, we would just bite the dust. But yeah, of course, I was fucking wilding out on that ride. But yeah, I gotta edit that and post it someday. But it'll be fucking funny. But anyways, to go back to the thing, so they had two tours. They had the tours of the cave in the Cave of the Winds. They had the Discovery tour. Now the Discovery tour was basically it's the more family friendly one. It's the one that basically you go to the cave and everything is lit up. They have like lights and shit. So But then they had the Lantern tour. Now the Lantern tour was advertised as the hardcore
Bro.
as the hard.
I
It,
I'm glad you are bringing this up because I am thinking about a specific movie
me
right now.
too. No, I'm gonna bring that up. I'm gonna bring that up real quick. Are you thinking about a Descent?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that's what I
Oh
was
yeah.
thinking about too. Okay, yeah. So, and the funny thing is that okay, so recently on my channel also I played something called you heard of The Forest, right?
Yeah.
So I played The Forest, and there's a lot of parts in that game where you had to venture a cave in the dark, and I was playing with a friend. Thank God, because this game would have scared the shit out of me if I was playing it by myself. I mean, it still scared me with my friend, but at least if something happened, I can run back to my friend and be like, "Help me kill the fucking bad guys." Yeah, but so pretty much, so we did the Lantern tour. So when we get to the Lantern door, so we go into this. So pretty much, the whole time the our tour guide was doing ghost stories because that was part of the tour that they would give ghost stories and shit that supposedly happened there. All right, some of
Yeah.
the I did research some of the stories. Some of them did happen, but some of them I feel like the details were kind of like changed for entertainment purposes, but whatever. Anyways, so when we were going up, we were having to go up like this fucking like a ravine or whatever,
Mhm.
and the guide kept stopping and kept telling us history about the how this cave came to be, who discovered it, and blah blah blah. So when you get to the cave, there's this fucking big ass wooden door. It's a big heavy wooden door. So she had to basically open it, right? Because it was a woman
Yeah.
that was basically that was our tour guide. So she opened it. So we went inside, and then basically we're like in this balcony that overlooks where the Discovery tour is gonna pass by, right? But we have a separate cave entrance. Dude, this cave entrance, the minute you look at this cave entrance, it was like big nope. Why? Because it's a big iron fucking gate. and it's like,
Ooh.
and there's like this big fucking hole where you're supposed to go where the cave goes into. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it looked like something you play like in a horror video game where it's like, you know, obviously you got to find the key to open up this door, and then once you open up this
Yeah.
door, like all of a sudden it's like Nopesville, and you're like, why the fuck is my character going through this? Yeah, but anyways, so here's the fucked up thing. So and me and my parents' heads, we thought that they were gonna give us like, you know, an actual fucking lantern, right,
To go down there and
to go
explore.
down there and explore. Of course, we're gonna explore with a guide. They're not just like, oh, here, go wander in a fucking
Yeah.
dark cave by yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
where somebody can get lost or they can get hurt and stuff like that. But anyways, to bring back the thing of claustrophobia. So when we got there, instead of giving us like an actual oil, a kerosene lantern, what they gave us was basically it was a bucket, right, that had a handle on it on the side, and it had a hole that was basically like stabbed through. And what they did is that they put a kerosene candle in there, and the kerosene candle, for some other people, the kerosene candle fell out. My kerosene candle never fell out. And the thing is that if your kerosene candle fell out, you were supposed to pick up your kerosene candle, and you were supposed to. I mean, me being the pothead myself, I had a lighter myself in my pocket, right? But the average person, they recommended that you had to go to someone else's lantern and use their lantern to I mean,
Yeah.
their candle. But I didn't do that. Um, I remember there was one time I think my mom's candle went out, and I was frustrated because I couldn't get her candle to light with mine, so I just pulled out my lighter and just lit it, you know, and just lit it. I mean, the tour guide had a lighter. It was a Zippo that barely functioned, but whatever. But anyways, but so when we get to this cave, we basically go into this meeting room, right? So we go through the gates. They give us our lanterns, and we go to this meeting room, and it's basically like this big open room, and there's like this thing in the middle. It's like a basically like some kind of like a rock formation or something that obviously wasn't there naturally. They put that together there, and then they told us a ghost story, and it had a, you know, the rock had a freaking like lantern on it, you know, to basically light that one specific room. And then after that we go, okay, so after that she basically tells us that it's like we had to basically, okay, so when we go into the dark cave, the way this where the claustrophobia started setting in. Why? Because the first part of the cave, I think it's a fucking 200-foot like trail, right, that is 200 feet long,
Uh-huh.
and pretty much what do you call this thing, and I think the ceiling was about, I think it gets as low as basically about 3.5 feet, right? So pretty much essentially, just to give you, so essentially, you know, this is me standing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is me standing up. So essentially, when you get into the cave, I'm basically crawling like this, and I'm doing this for 200 feet.
Oh no.
And then
Oh
this when I
no.
realized something. When I'm playing
Oh no.
video games and my character is basically like being stealthy and shit, and I'm crouching all the time, I always figured that that, you know, it will be very, you know, because I have bad knees, and I'm like, I'm sure that this is like very taxing on the knees, but dude, I was 200 feet walking like
That's a long.
this
That's a long way.
with
Yeah.
the lantern, and then basically every now and then I will keep hitting my head on the ceiling, hitting my shoulders on
Oh
the rocks, and
man.
I'll be like, fuck, this hurts. Ow, what the fuck? And I'll basically be like this. And of course, you know, that's only one way in, so, and there's one way out. But I always figured that a cave is always, it's dark. The one thing I didn't realize, all right, come on. My freaking, that's my freaking NVIDIA broadcast. Every time I move, the camera basically tries to center me, which is pretty cool, but that's why I was doing all that shit. But anyways, I was going, so I never realized how dark a cave can be. I always figured that a cave could be super dark if you're that deep into it. But there's a part in the tour where basically they asked us to turn off all our lights.
Mm.
So we did. Dude, it
Oh
was
boy.
so dark. And
Couldn't
then
see anything.
not even, I couldn't even see the hand right in my face. It was so
Wow.
dark. And not only that, it was one of those darknesses that when it got so dark, like it felt like everything fucking expanded, because it's
Yeah.
like, you
Yeah. I
know,
know
it's like
exactly what you're
my
talking
other
about.
senses started taking over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, dude, it got so dark in that cave that it's one of those darknesses that if I would have basically, like, if I was exploring that cave and my light went out and I decided, oh, I'm gonna turn around and head back the same way I came, I'm pretty sure I'll get fucking lost and I'll be like, okay, wait a
Oh
minute,
yeah.
where the fuck am I? I could have sworn I was going back to where I was, and I'll start panicking, be like, hello, help! Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It got really fucking dark, and then at that point, but we were inside deeper in the cave, so even I'm like, okay, I don't know where the fuck we are, so it's like I can try to go back the way I came, but it's like when I get past that fucking like hallway, because it's like it's a cave, so it's almost like hallways.
Yeah.
Once I get past that hallway and I go into the big room where I have to basically make a left, I'm like, how the fuck do I know which way is left? Because I think I'm going left, and then all of a sudden I'm heading right, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, where the hell am I going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where things could get really dangerous.
Yeah, well, that part was that whole cave was dangerous because there was a part in the cave where we had to actually walk around the flooring because apparently the ground there gets so soft that you can actually fall to the hole in the
Oh
cave,
wow.
and they're like you can end up anywhere, and I'm like,
What
no
the fuck?
thanks. Yeah, so we had to. It was
That's
like,
crazy.
yeah, so it kind of felt like the descent, and it felt like I was just the whole time in my head. I know it wasn't possible, but the whole time in my head it was like I was thinking about like the descent or the forest where what if we keep venturing and all of a sudden like a fucking like Wendigo or some fucking cannibal just comes out of nowhere and it just starts snatching us one by one. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like, how the hell am I gonna fight something that crawls like Spider-Man and is dragging me in the dark in a cave? I can't fight that.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I don't know
For
where to
real.
swing. He'll be dragging me. I'll be swinging all over the place. I'm like, I don't even know where the hell he is.
And it's funny, I had no idea the movie had a sequel until like way later, and
That movie,
I
that
saw it
that
as
movie
well.
has like 4 or 5. That movie has like 3 to 4 different endings. The Descent.
Yeah, I heard about
Yeah,
that.
because they didn't know how to end it. They didn't know how to
That's
end. They didn't know how to end the
that's
movie. So they
that's how
felt.
you know that middle that whole sequence of what happened in the middle in the caves, that's just insane, bro.
Yeah, because there's ending. Okay, so there's an ending where they all die in the cave.
Yeah, yeah, they all
Then
die.
the one that everybody saw for the most part, the theatrical one, was the one that they escape. And then they have one that's a cop out where it's like it plays a little bit differently. It's like they escape from the cave, and it looks like they got out, and then next thing you know, the bitch wakes up, and then she's still in the cave, and it's like, oh
Oh,
shit, that was a
yeah,
dream the whole
yeah,
time,
yeah.
and it's like,
I
damn.
heard about
And then
that. Yeah,
the movie
yeah,
ends, and it's like she's stuck in the cave forever. Yeah, because they never
bro.
you never get to see her rescued. I always thought that was the best ending because that's the one ending that gives you hopeful, where it's like
Yeah,
oh fuck, they made it out, and all of a sudden like she just wakes up and then she's in the cave in again, and it's like, oh shit, this bitch was sleeping the whole. This was her dream, and then that's what she's
that's
like, and then
crazy.
she wakes up, and of course I can imagine if you're having a dream that powerful and you're like, oh finally I escaped, and then you wake up and you're stuck in the cave again. I
Yeah,
can imagine that must be soul crushing to the point where you just give up because at that point you're just telling yourself, I'm never getting out of here.
yeah, for real.
Yeah, I'm gonna die here. Like either I starve to death. My fucking phone just went off. I don't know if you heard that, but
Yeah, I did.
fucking Android notifications. It was a Samsung notification. It's not just any Android, okay? Actually, it's a very cheap Samsung. I'm not rocking a fucking Galaxy or whatever. It's like a K56 or some bullshit. They just do some number and some alphabet and they'll be like, there you go, $200.
Um, we're gonna get out of here pretty soon?
Yeah, you want to end it
All
right
right.
now? We can always continue this
I
sometime other.
yeah. I want to give a couple recommendations to watch for Halloween. Um, Obviously the Descent we just talked about right now. Marvel just dropped a one-off special, Werewolf by Night, which is pretty good. It pays homage to those old school horror movies in black and white.
Oh, I like that. I actually have to check
Yeah,
that. Werewolf by
yeah,
Night is.
you should yeah, Werewolf by Night. It's pretty good.
Gotcha. Let me see a horror movie I can. All right, this movie's not that scary. Maybe it was scary when it came out. I don't know, but it used to scare me as a kid. At least there was one scene, but I always thought it was a pretty cool movie, even though it's a little bit goofy on the on some parts. You ever seen House on Haunted Hill?
I love all those cheesy 90s fucking horror
Yeah,
movies,
House of
bro.
Well, the thing is that I'm talking about the remake because the original is a
Yeah,
1950s movie and
yeah, 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 yeah,
it's
yeah.
so dated that I'm like, nah, don't fucking bother. Have you seen The Fly?
I've seen bits and pieces of
The
The
Fly.
Fly.
Okay,
That's why I laugh at your
my
profile picture
Discord.
on here.
Yeah, my Discord. If you guys follow my Discord, if not, I'm gonna put a link in the description so you guys can follow my Discord. That's how you guys know if I'm gonna live stream or what's happening on the channel. Or you guys can check my channel's bio and it's there. But anyways, but The Fly is a good movie. It's I think it's one of the early Jeff Goldblum films, and it's one of my favorite Jeff
So
Goldblum films. It's such a good fucking story. And the ending is so fucked up. I'm not gonna spoil the ending for you, but it's one of those endings where the movie just ends and you're left like really that's where they just cut the credits. But yeah, it's one of those movies.
before we get out of here, I actually want to shit on a movie that's horror themed. Have you seen It Follows?
No, is it that bad?
I I saw the movie and literally towards the end, I'm like, this is Ghost AIDS. This is all it is.
Ghost AIDS.
Ghost AIDS.
You know
I
what?
don't want to say I don't want to say
That kind
anything
of
about the
that
movie.
kind of reminds me of
Just watch the movie.
that kind of reminds me of The Happening. Remember that movie? The whole time you're like, what the fuck's killing these people?
The fucking
It's the
trees. The
trees. The trees are
trees.
killing people. They're having some kind of like fucking chemical thing where people breathe it in, and then
That,
next thing you
that's
know, that was such a dumb fucking movie.
that's where M Night Shyamalan did not give a fuck anymore, bro.
Dude, my favorite one. I remember I saw that movie in the theaters because I was a hardcore M Night Shyamalan fan because I liked how terrible his movies were. So I went to go see that happening. You know that part where the old lady goes insane?
Yeah.
Okay, so the part where Mark Wahlberg is in the house and he's like looking at her, and she's outside the house. I remember. I think this was the hardest I ever laughed in the theater. The minute that old lady, when she goes to the window and she just does this and she slams her head inside the glass, and then she has that fucked up face because she has glass shards all over her face, dude. I fucking lost it, dude, because it looks so fucking dumb, and I'm trying to picture like somebody doing this in real life, like for no
Somebody
reason.
would do that in real.
Of course,
Yeah.
I'm sure someone has, but anyways, that movie was stupid. Okay, so we got movies out of the way. You recommended The Descent. I recommended The Fly. Any horror video
And
games?
and and oh, horror video games. Ooh.
What was the last one? And what?
Um.
And what? What was the last part?
Werewolf by Night.
And Werewolf by Night. Yeah. And House on Haunted Hill
Definitely
was the other one I
how.
said.
Yeah. Definitely the Dead Space series. Play those before the new remake comes out.
Yeah. If you guys have no way to play them because whether you don't have a console or you're probably in a country that video games are super expensive, I mean, you
Oh,
can.
I mean, fucking everything expensive now
Yeah,
in
but I mean, there
general.
are some countries that like there's an Indian guy on my channel, Swastix, that he's one of my moderators, and what he calls thing, he told me that in his country video games are expensive, but which I believe. But okay, so Dead Space, you guys can either play them or you can, if you guys want, you can watch my series. I played all of them. Part 3, even though I already pre-recorded and I finished it with a friend, I'm releasing those videos. Actually, there'll be one tomorrow. Well, actually, I don't know when this is gonna go up, so disregard that. I don't know, but anyways,
I'm trying to think of any other horror games.
you ever play Siren?
No.
It's a PlayStation exclusive. They're made by the same people who made Silent Hill when they weren't making Silent Hill anymore. Siren, and you say you had an Xbox, right?
Yeah, I do.
Have you played Condemned?
You know, I is that on Game Pass or?
No, it's on the Xbox 360, but the last time I checked, it was on sale for like $4. So you can pick it
I'd have
up.
to see because I haven't really checked into the Xbox store in a while.
Yeah, go check. If they have it on sale, I highly recommend it. It's such a good game and it has an awesome fucking it's made by the same people who made Fear. But
Okay.
instead of it being focused on shooting, it's focused on like basically like fighting and you literally have to basically find objects in your environment, pick them up and use them as a weapon. Things like 2x4s, pipes, hammers. I mean, there's guns in the game, but they're very rare. And
Oh,
when you pick up a gun, they only have like 2 shots and then or 3 or 4 bullets and then you use them and then you have to throw the gun away.
I actually just thought of a couple actually. Dead Island and what was
Yeah,
the
Dead
most
Island
recent
2
one
is
that
coming
came
out
out?
finally.
What was the most recent one that came out?
What Dying Light?
Dying Light. There you
Yeah,
go.
made by the same devs but different franchise. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd recommend those games.
Zombie is really good. It's spelled zombie without an
Oh,
E.
if you guys want some old school, not old school, but like nostalgic video games, Left 4 Dead. My personal favorite. You know what? I might actually play some earlier,
Later.
maybe later in
Yeah.
the week. Yeah.
Yeah, we might actually but you don't have a PC though, so like we can't play together.
No,
Yeah, I
no.
don't think I have the Xbox version anymore. No, I used to have them physical, not digital, so I can't play with you.
I had a physical disc. I don't know if I still
But yeah,
have
but
it,
if you
so
have any games
I have
on
to look
yeah,
for it.
but if you have an Xbox, we can play stuff on Game Pass. Well, anyways, but yeah, we're talking like the freaking like the video's over. But yeah, guys, well, yeah, so pretty much movie recommendations. You got The Descent, you got The Fly, you got Werewolf by Night, and you got House on Haunted Hill. Horror video game recommendations. You got Dead Space, of course, Resident Evil. I mean, if you guys can't play them, you guys can watch my streams. Silent Hill is a good one. Siren. I mean, there's too many horror games, and there's a lot of good fucking horror games. So just play a game that's gonna make you shit your pants. If it's not scary, then whatever. But if it's scary, and horror is subjective. I mean,
It is. It is.
horror is subjective. I mean, I might not find you might not find the evil within scary, but I find the evil within scary. Oh, actually, the scariest video game I ever played on my channel was Alien Isolation.
Oh,
That
okay.
game scared the shit out of me. All right. Well, anyways, it's we already gone over time and we agreed
Yeah,
to
we have.
only an hour. So let me know how you guys like this. If you guys like this, I can bring Carlito again. We can basically talk more about video games. It doesn't have to be horror specific. We can talk about shooters. We can talk about other things. Just let us know what you guys want us to talk about. Anime, comic books, any nerd culture, because that's pretty much what I try to run my channel on. Any nerd culture.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know, and I'll bring other YouTubers. I mean, Carlito is not really a YouTuber, but he does
Getting
appear.
there. Getting there.
Yeah. Do you want to plug in your Do you want to plug in your stuff? I mean, just send me your links,
I
and I can
Yeah,
put them in the
I'll
description.
send you my links. I'm starting to stream on Twitch. I was flip-flopping on either Twitch or YouTube. I'm still doing that, but I'm actually streaming on Twitch. So I'm playing Gotham Knights. I don't know if you want me to talk about that now or off stream.
Mm, all right, let's talk about Gotham Knights real quick.
Cause I did talk about it on our channel.
Let's talk about it real quick, just in case someone
Okay.
is basically, if anybody's watching and they're on the fence of buying it, at least they can hear, someone's opinion who's actually played it.
So me and Ty are both in agreement. It's an okay game. Like there's some like you talked about earlier when you said 30 frames per second.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
I
Yep.
yeah, like it's very noticeable at times.
Yeah,
Sometimes
and I heard that
the
it dip.
combat,
I heard that sometimes it dips. It can dip below
yeah,
20.
yeah,
Yeah, which is not
yeah,
good. Yeah.
very noticeable at times.
Yeah, I bet.
Gotham at times feels very empty. It's not like the Arkham City games where there's just stuff happening everywhere. You'd have to zip line your way to an actual location or drive your way over there. There's a gear system, which I'm kind of over that because it's just so repetitive in games now.
Yeah, it's like a
It
looter, right? Like you punch an
yeah,
enemy and then like they'll be like pretty much like does it have the fact do items have like different colors? Like a blue one is common and then you have like
yes,
okay,
yes,
it does that
yes, it's
bullshit.
one of
Yeah. Where the
those.
purple is
And then
rare. Yeah, and shit like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
and then you have abilities as well.
Yeah. This is why I don't
Um,
play Destiny, bro.
yeah, my friends have tried to get me into Destiny, and I just
Yeah, I'm like
say
no
no every
thanks.
time.
Yep, no thanks.
But the combat is very sluggish, and the controls are very janky at times. I have yet to try co-op. Me and Ty are trying to do that sometime this week because we're more or less around in the same story. I'm sure once we play co-op, the game will probably be a lot better. Story wise, it's okay so far. I haven't gotten to the Court of
Yeah, the
Owls
Batman
yet.
is dead, right? Yeah,
Batman's dead.
Batman's dead.
They show you from the very beginning, so there's no shying away from
Oh,
that.
so they show him die?
Yeah, immediately from the very
Awesome. That's
beginning.
good.
It's a very when you start the game, it's a very long cutscene.
Let me ask you a
Um,
question. So
yeah,
obviously this was developed by Warner Brothers Montreal, which is
Montreal, yeah,
yeah, which
Origins,
is the same team we
Arkham
did. Or
Origins. Yeah,
I got a confession to make.
you love Origins?
I never played Origins.
Okay,
The
that's okay.
only Arkham game I heard that okay, from what I've heard from people, I heard that Origins after they patched it up, I heard that Origins was okay. I heard that people actually like Origins now. It's just that when it came out, it had issues. But anyways, the only Arkham game I ever played was Asylum. I never played
Mhm.
City. I played a little bit of Knights because it was one of the first Xbox One games I played, and I didn't get that far in it. But the only one,
Real quick, touching on that on Arkham Knight. I'm glad you brought that up. Halfway playing through the game, I already knew who the Arkham Knight was. Like there
yeah.
was no denying
Well,
of
I
what I
got
saw
halfway
was
through the
happening.
game and I saw, once I saw that, I'm not gonna spoil it just in case someone hasn't played it, but once I got to that one part of the game, where you start seeing a flashback of a particular person, that's
Yep.
when I figured out who it was.
Yep.
The only thing I remember about Arkham Knights, I just remember being really excited to play to. Oh crap, he's left this dimension. Okay, but the one thing I do remember is being really hyped to basically I gotta get you. I gotta get you. I gotta find a better program for you to use for your chroma key. But anyways,
Yeah,
but the one thing I do remember about Arkham Knight was being super hyped to drive the fucking Batmobile, and then
bruh.
after like 4 or 5 hours of playing the game, I was like, oh fuck, I gotta drive the Batmobile again.
I rarely use the
Like
Batmobile
it's
because the
fun.
controls were just ridiculous on it.
No, it's the fact that the game wanted you to use it like 80%. I didn't mind driving to the city. It was the part where basically the game wanted you to stop and turn
Well,
the.
where it forced you to use
Yeah, we're
the
forced you to use
Batmobile.
the fucking. I don't mind driving it in the city. That was pretty cool because, like, oh, cool, man, I'm driving the fucking Batmobile. It didn't handle badly. The problem was the fact that it had a combat mode which would turn into a tank, and the game asked you to use the tank mode to kill other
Yeah,
tanks all the fucking time. And it's like, and the one thing that pissed me off too is like, how I always hated the trope that Batman doesn't kill people.
yeah,
I always thought it was stupid. It's like he'd rather send them to the hospital. He'd rather send the same villain to the hospital multiple times with broken bones just so they can heal and then escape again, just so he can do it again. I think he's just a sadist and just likes to basically beat the shit out of people. But anyways,
I go back to that Peacemaker line that he says, "You, how many people you think Batman has inadvertently killed?"
yeah, but I never, yeah, because it's like, for example, after Joker escapes 3 times, you would think that Batman would just say fuck it and just break his neck or like let him fall off a building and just die or something because of fall damage. But it's like that's why I like the Flashpoint paradox, or that's why I like the Frank
Yeah,
Miller's. That's why I like Frank Miller's, The Dark
Dark
Knight.
Knight Returns. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because Batman actually kills people. Or when you watch
yeah,
Flashpoint Paradox, when it's basically when it's Bruce Wayne's dad, basically he walks around with a
yeah,
shotgun. It's like if they turned the Batman into Frank Castle, and he
yeah.
walks around and he
Exactly.
just starts blasting people away.
And the I love that the part that the Joker is actually Martha.
Yeah, his mom. But yeah, I only played Arkham Asylum and I beat Arkham Asylum and it was an awesome fucking game. I never got to the other ones because I've been tired of the superhero thing for a while now. It's
I get you.
oversaturated, Like I have Disney Plus and it's like the only thing I watch on Disney Plus is the classic shit. Why? Because I'm sick and tired of Marvel. I'm sick and tired of Star Wars. I'm sick and tired of all these fucking shows. Why? Because it's like it has completely consumed Disney. But anyways, we're getting off
Oh
track.
yeah, definitely.
You're getting
Yeah.
super
So
off
going
track.
back to Gotham Knights, um, there is a day and night cycle in Gotham Knights, but you can't do much during the day for right now, from what I remember. You're in your street clothes, and when you go out at night is when you patrol the streets and you stop crime and all that
Let me
stuff.
ask you a question. So with the quality that or the way the game is right now with the blading issues with the frame rate and stuff, how do you feel about the Suicide Squad game? I know that one's being developed by Rocksteady, but
Which is also the same studios as
as the
well,
Arkham game,
universe as the Arkham
yeah, well,
games.
the
Yeah.
Arkham, the ones that people care about, which is, I mean, I know a lot of people don't like Arkham Knight. People just basically talk about Asylum and City all the day.
Arkham Knight. I like Arkham Knight,
Yeah,
even though it has its flaws.
yeah, but how do you feel about the Suicide Squad game, the one where they're hunting down the Justice League?
The Justice League. I'm interested in that one actually.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen from the gameplay, from what they showed like maybe like a year ago, I'm sorry, but the gameplay and Suicide Squad looks a lot more appealing because there's a lot more going on. I see the characters like basically like gliding around, they're shooting people, they're punching people, they're throwing explosives. Whereas in Arkham
Yeah.
Knight, all I've seen is just people walk around and just like do combos. And the one thing I've noticed, even though I haven't played the game myself, and I don't think I'm gonna play it, I don't. I think it's a purchase I'm going to skip. Um, but the one thing I've noticed is the fact that what do you call it? The combat is not Arkham combat.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because I
Yeah,
was going to talk
it's not
about that.
Arkham combat. It's like it's his
Yeah, the
own. It's
combat
his
is
own
very
thing.
it's very slow.
Yeah, it's very slow and I mean the animations look cool, but yeah, it's not like Arkham where basically you be in, you can be in a group of 9 guys and it's like, well, I mean, I don't remember who did it first because I just realized that Arkham's like the Batman Arkham's like their combat style is the exact same style that the early Assassin's Creeds used to use.
Mm,
Where you're standing in the middle of a group of people and then you have to wait until the guy comes and attacks you and then they
yeah,
either start glowing and then you counter it, and then
yeah,
you basically like punch him or something, and it's the same thing with the Arkham games.
yeah.
The Mad, have you played Mad Max?
I played
Because Mad
the
Max,
first one.
yeah,
I
because
played the first
Mad
one.
Max uses the exact same. What? It's only one Mad Max game. I'm talking about the one that came out like 2017. I never beat it, but I played a little bit of it in a friend's house. But I remember it having the exact same combat system where, you gotta wait for the one guy to flash to attack you, and then you press the button and he counters it or whatever. But anyway, so is there anything else you want to say about Arkham Knights besides the fact that what you said
Oh,
about
Gotham Knights.
that
Knights.
the frame rate is not as good. It dips below 30 at times, but
Uh,
it the
as of right now, I like I said, I want to try out co-op to see if I can actually decide this and see like if it's actually worth the money right now. Right now, as of right now, I don't think it is. But like I said, once I get into the story and maybe I'll change my mind. But right now, not so much.
I see. Yeah, I've been hearing the exact same thing. With everybody, like the people who played it, basically like there's another podcast I follow on Saturdays. But yeah, there was one guy there that I think two people that played it in that podcast because
Yeah,
they have like they have like 6 to 8 people in that podcast sometimes. And but yeah,
that's a lot of people.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the shows are usually 2.5, 3 hours long, so yeah,
That's that's a long time.
it is. I mean, I stream for 3 hours. Basically every time I stream a game, I on minimum or maximum actually is 3 hours. I think that was
See,
only
I'm trying to get into the habit of streaming for long hours because I get to 2 hours and I'm just burnt out from staring at the screen.
yeah, me too. By the third hour, I'm like, oh fuck. I try to basically do what I need to do in the game, get to a save point, and I'm like, all right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Mañana. Bye. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
exactly. Alrighty. So I guess that's the closing thing. We got a little bit we got an extra 17 minutes on there. We're talking about Arkham Knights, but yeah, again, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you guys are just coming into this channel, and if you guys like this format, let me know, and we'll come back maybe next week or the week after. We'll figure it out. I have to check with this guy's schedule, and he has to basically check with my schedule. But I don't think it'll be that big of a deal since just an hour of our time every week. But you guys just let us know in the comments. I am going to post his Twitch channel or whatever YouTube shit he wants me to fucking post and promote. It's in the description, so check out my boy. Support him because I mean, I've known this guy since middle school, so
For real.
he's a homie.
Known each other for forever.
Yeah, he's a homie. So basically, give Carlito some love. But yeah, guys, this is it. This is pretty much the close of the show. So thank you so much for stopping by, and look forward for more live streams and more YouTube content coming out soon, and look forward towards towards Carlito's live streams if you're so inclined. But yeah, I don't know what else to say, but yeah, I'm just gonna end it here. So bye, guys.